Um, well, I must say, I'm not nervous for this interview, but I'm very excited because first of all, I just love you very much. I think you're just like a wonderful human being. Um, but I just know you have really good thought-provoking things to say. I know the way you think. I've gotten to learn the way you think over the last year, really. I think our relationship has grown pretty strong. And I kind of just got out of my head that one picture we took at a summit where your hair was really big. And I was like, wow, she has really big curly hair and a big smile. I was just like enamored. But so I'm out of that phase of being like, oh my gosh, this is Jessica, the coach. And more like, this is Jessica, my friend. And more importantly, someone who I know to be extremely honest and real and committed and loyal. So I'm really excited for your questions. I'm hoping that this could be the first of many, I want to call them reverse interviews with the Fit Fam, because I feel, I know you're going to ask me more than, what did you eat for dinner? And, what's your workout?
Sleep.
Right. And so I just want to dive right into it. So I'm going to basically give you the floor and you do you, and let's go.
Okay. So do we have a time limit, or because I know I've got it broken into themes.
Okay, that's fine. I have to leave. We have like 55 minutes because I have to leave my transformation center literally in 1 hour from now. So,
okay.
And my car is packed. So all I have to do is walk outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay, first, I think we should talk about motivation, because I think that is one of the number one questions is, how do you stay motivated? How do you get motivated? But I want to go deeper than that. So I think that typically people are motivated either by a pain that pushes them or a vision that pulls them. It's either a negative or a positive. And I think that's not right or wrong. It's just intrinsic in maybe your personality. So how are you? Are you more pushed by escaping a negative or running towards a positive?
It's so weird. Like, I'm listening to your question. I'm already like tearing up on the inside because I just know. But I feel like I'm gonna cry in this interview. It's so annoying. No, it's not, because I love crying. But I will say, first of all, I'll say the first thing that came to my head was my grandfather, because I don't know why, except for the fact that I was extremely motivated by his passion and power and desire to help people change. And the fact that, what's really weird is he was a big guy with big hands, and he talked about how he was this amazing boxer. But the one thing that motivated him mostly, and the story that I got more than anything else, was about how he was a marble champion. So for me, it kind of reflects exactly the question that you asked. It was like, are you motivated by, like, I look at boxing as something like struggled and like powerful, but like very, aggressive. And then I look at him being a marble champion, which just sounds so crazy to people probably. And how he told me he had to be extremely precise. He had to think, the way he had to think, the way he had to move his fingers. And it was the exact opposite of a big punch. And so it is a great question. I will take it to, I'll continue in sports, because sports is just my life. When I'm playing tennis, and this is a barrier that I'm literally just breaking down after 7 years of playing tennis, I play best when I'm down. And I play best when I'm losing. And I think it's because my entire life, well, I would say not my entire life, because now I'm on top on the other side of struggle. But my early childhood was about struggling. And I always felt that I was always fighting, and I was always like climbing to the top. And I was always trying to get out of my head and not be, dealing with sexual abuse and trying to be happy when I'm really sad. You know what I mean? So I was always felt like I was climbing. And so in tennis, I'm extremely motivated. Like, oh, so you think you can beat me? Oh, great. This is when I serve the best. This is when I hit the best, because I hate losing more than I like winning. You know what I mean? Like, for me, winning is like, And that might sound weird to some people, because some people might look at that and say, well, you just want to win. And no, it's not that I just want to win. It's just that I do not want to lose, and especially be beat down by myself, and more importantly, lose to myself. Because I've actually lost tennis matches where, I like lost really bad, but I played, like, I was so happy with the way that I played. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, you didn't beat yourself. And I feel like a lot of times in struggle, it comes down to not the outside source that's, not the person that abused you, not the husband that cheated on you, not the person that told you were fat. It's how you actually internalize that message. And, one of our Fit Fam members posted yesterday, Jamie Sue, you know her? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she's so sweet. She posted something about a woman. I don't know if it was a woman. Someone said that, are you even seeing results? And she was just like, yeah, like, I look at my shoulders, I look at the way that booty's sitting. She probably didn't say it like that. And, she could have been like completely defeated by, oh my gosh, I'm putting all this hard work and people don't believe in me. But she said, no, like, this is me. Like, I actually am doing good in certain areas of my body. And so I say all that to say, I'm extremely, nowadays, I'm motivated by both sides. I'm learning how to, in sports, I'm learning how to win on top. But in my personal life, I've achieved knowing how to win on top. And this goes back to a couple years ago when I was talking in a podcast about, I got to this certain point in my relationship with Scott where I was like, okay, this is where relationships normally end. It's been, I forget how long, I don't even remember how long it was now, because now I'm past it. I think it was like a year and 9 months. It was like that year and a half to like close to 2 years where I would be like, okay, Shaun, this is time to sabotage your relationship. Like, this is the time to be really insecure and tell them they don't really want to be with you anymore, or find a way. And getting past that hump was major for me, because I was just like, wow, like, no, I'm really happy and I can control this. And even when Scott and I have less than, happy moments, I don't fall to, oh, the relationship's over now because we got an argument. Now it's more like, we're going to be together, but we got to get through this. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I hope that answers your question more. So just to sum that up, is that I'm really motivated by both sides, but I'm still learning to be motivated by more than just the struggle, because I am motivated a lot by struggle. But in my personal life and relationships, I'm motivated heavily by now struggling, because you have to go through changes and challenges. But I'm also motivated by the happiness, because I can connect to the happiness more. I think that's why in Insanity, and I'm really looking forward to Transform 20, Insanity, I was, my grandmother had just passed away. Like, I was, so everything, like, she was sick. We had just went to the mall. She had her last ice cream cone. This is something that, she couldn't even walk through the mall. It was like really, really hard. It was just like, and so I have to show up on set, and this person that I love beyond anything just passed away. So I was like digging so hard to, try to motivate people at home, So, and now I'm really able to look at the bright side. We just had a Fit Fam member pass away of cancer. My grandmother passed away of cancer. And, I did really well with that. I didn't know this woman super, super well, but I like really loved who she was, and we had a great connection, and most of it was via social media, but it was still like a really great connection. And I used her power. Like, this time, instead of, fighting from the bottom, I actually used like the last couple of days of her life. I texted her this, I guess I can say her name now, but her name was Alyssa, Fitness Farm on Instagram. But I texted her 2 days before she passed away. And she was like, send me pictures of the babies. Like, it helps me get through the day. And, she was like super positive. So I was like, oh, we have a little bit of time left. And I didn't text her every day, because I was just like, I don't want to like put that out there. And then when I got the message that she passed away, obviously I was really sad. But I just thought about the power that she had in her time of struggle, but how she really was on top. So I know that's a lot, but I'm definitely a master at being motivated from struggle, and I'm mastering being motivated from being on top. And that's why Transformation 20 is going to be great, because you know, it's 20 minutes, and now I'm looking forward to knowing what the message is going to come out in those workouts, and how I'm going to motivate the people at home.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's so good, because I think people, when they aren't in their ideal scenario, that's where they struggle to stay motivated. So you said you're mastering being motivated on the top. So what are you doing to help build that up? Like, what actual things? Like, is it like you just said, really focusing on like her story and taking from her power, or what exactly, you know, can someone else do?
I actually revisit a lot of the things that were painful in the past. Some people go to therapy and they want to forget them, or, you know, things like that. But for me, I actually, I revisit it. So, you know, I can even bring up the whole secret deodorant activation that I did. You know, for a long time, I didn't really talk about it much because it reminded me of my grandmother, and it was like I probably would have cried my way through that activation. But now I'm looking back at things that, you know, were painful in my life, and now I'm celebrating them. So being able to do that entire day I was like channeling my grandmother, right? So even when I look back at the sexual abuse, and a lot of people read my story, and some people said, I can't believe you shared all that. And I was like, of course I shared all that, because most people are afraid to even share a little bit. But I look at that now, and I look at what were the great things that came of that? But here's what I want to say, and this has come up a lot in my business lately, especially with my employees, or I would say coworkers, because I don't really like calling people my employees, but it is what it is. You know, there's been a lot of comparisons, like who works this way, who works that way, is one way better than the other. And for me, when I realized that Scott is a behind the computer kind of worker, and I used to be really insecure because I'm a thinker. I think all day long. When I'm driving, it's hard for me to listen to a podcast when I drive, because I hear one thing on a podcast and then I go back into my Rolodex of pleasure or pain or struggle, and I start working on myself, and then I got to rewind the podcast. So, you know, because I'm a mover, like I learned through moving. Chip is another one that learns through, like, his favorite emoji is like the emoji behind the computer, you know what I mean? And my favorite emoji is the emoji eye roll, like, cause I'm always thinking of being like, whatever. So anyway, I say all that to say, the thing that I'm doing is I just constantly think, and I'm constantly working on myself, and it works for me. Sometimes it doesn't work for people. Some people like to have a moment, but that's why in the ongoing key, I actually have that motivational Mondays, or meditation Mondays, I should say, motivational Wednesdays, is because, okay, if you need time to focus on you or focus on what it is, then, you know, set aside your time so that you can actually do that. But for me, every single thing that I do, and it's not overwhelming, whether I'm teaching a class live on stage, whether I'm working out, developing a new workout program, whether I'm on a tennis court, whether I'm reading a book, or whether I'm doing a podcast, I'm constantly, you know, relating it to a past part of my life or to something that's currently happening in my life, so that I can constantly build on greatness instead of just always building on struggle.
So good.
Thanks.
So, okay. So you answered that one completely. Good job.
Thanks.
So, okay. So what is since we're kind of talking about processes or, you know, being motivated or whatever. So what about when you are experiencing a low, like a mental low, a physical low, you know, because I think it's easy for people to think that you don't experience lows, which obviously we know is not true. You are human. How do you pull yourself out of the funk? Like, do you have a go-to method? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's a great question. First of all, I connect to the emotion. Any emotion that I'm having, I fully connect to it and process it. So if, like, for me, there are no bad emotions, but how you respond to the emotion can be bad or good. So for me, if I'm sad, if I feel like I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry, and I'm going to live in that, because I need to experience that, because I feel like with men, you know, or people in general, I don't want to just be gender specific, but in people in general, they think that they look at crying as a weakness. And I'm like, well, you have the desire, you have tear ducts for a reason. And that emotion, because you need to release that emotion of tears. And tears really are you is the first step to releasing that emotion of sadness or grieving or sometimes even anger or fear. And so if I have to cry, I feel better. This is a really bad analogy, but have you ever been sick and you have to like go get sick at the toilet, and you do that and you're like, oh, I feel better, be it for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you're just like, and you have to expel that. This is so bad, but you have to expel that, whatever's inside of you needs to come out, that parasite or that virus or whatever is getting it out. I look at crying as the same way, your tears coming out. So the first step is to connect to the emotion. So that's what I do for tears. If I'm angry, I used to have a temper like a motherfucker. Like my first result was to whoop somebody's ass. Like, you say one thing to me, and it was exacerbated by one time I was at a basketball game in high school. You know, I wasn't even connected to my sexuality because I was, you know, flirting with girls. I was kissing with girls. I never had any intimate relationships with a guy except for the step monster, which was obviously unwanted. But one of my mother's friends, we were at a basketball game. Now imagine a high school basketball game. You were like, you know, surrounded by your friends and like the other school. It's like, you know, whatever. And I go and sit down with my friends and I'm like having a good time. I'm laughing, boom, 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 like this whole thing. And my mother's friend, who was a grown woman, probably if I'm 14, 15 at the time, you know, they got to be like 37, 38. And she's like, look at Shaun over there being a fag. Right? And I was like, fuck you, bitch. Loud. And this in like literally like in the gymnasium, loud as fuck. Like I was like, fuck you, bitch. Like I went off.
And it was your mom's friend?
It was my mom's friend. I didn't give a fuck. Like, you know, like that's where my mindset was at the time. I was like, did you really? First of all, I hate the word fag in general. Second of all, I don't even really know what, you know, being gay is like. I haven't even experienced this, what it was. I was molested by a dude. So I do know that it's a derogatory term for having like intimate relationships with a man. And I'm 14, 15 years old. So my hormonal level and I'm at a level where I'm like, boom. So like, that was always my response. You know what I mean? Like I always started with like, I would be happy having a good time. If somebody said something to me, I was like, what? Like I was ready to fight. Like I would be walking from, I grew up, you know, partly in Camden, New Jersey. I'd be walking from a cousin's house. We walk through the basketball court. Somebody say something to me, like I get jumped, like I get in a fight because I'm just like, I'm not one to walk away. You know what I mean? I was always ready. I'm like, well, let's rock. You know what I mean? So that was my mentality. And so when I was in college, I took a personality test. And I realized that there was a test that was like blue, green, and red. Blue was extremely happy. Green was kind of in the middle, like, you know, you were very, I don't want to use the word methodical, but you kind of like, you thought about it like it was a transition stage, like you weren't happy or sad, you were just kind of like a gray area, if you will. And red was like mad. And when I finished that personality test, I would go from blue, I would go from royal blue, kind of like the color of my tights right now. I would go from mad royal blue, which I was like happy, smiling how you look right now, like mad happy, to red, like the deepest zone of red you could ever imagine. Because anger for me used to be like, oh, you just have to get like super, super mad. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's where I used to go. And so I took that personality test, and then I started to really work on myself and be like, okay, when you feel anger, so now when I feel anger, I go through a process. I'm like, I still feel the red right away. I still feel the red. But I'm like, yo, go shake hands with the green real quick. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm saying all that. So like in different emotions. So when I'm sad, you know, boom, I go here. When I'm angry, I go here. But can you repeat the question all the way? Because I want to make sure I'm going to get to the actual answer.
It was about like when you get in a funk, how do you help out?
Right. Good. Because I was, you know, I'm talking about emotions because I think they're really important. But when I do get
like you said, embracing the emotion is already huge, because I think even myself, if I get in a funk, then I get in a funk that I'm in a funk. Or if I'm mad, I get mad at myself for being mad.
Right. And that's why it's important to embrace the emotion because, you know, like my father-in-law taught me one time, you know, be soft on a person, hard on the problem. And that includes you and yourself. So now, you know, I'm soft on me, I'm hard on the problem. So if I have to experience an emotion, it's like, what's the problem? And I go to fix that. That's why I think it's really important. If you're happy, like get really happy, like enjoy the happiness. And you can, and that's being soft on you. And not that being happy is a problem, but if you're happy because you won $1 million, right? You still have to be hard on the problem. How do I save this money? How do I invest in a good way? You know, for a lot of people who lose a lot of weight and they get really happy, be extremely happy that you lost the weight. But for me, it's also like you have to be soft on the person, which is really happy, hard on the problem. Okay, how did I get here? Now that's why I always talk about like sustainability. Like let's be hard on the problem that you were dealing with. Be really happy with yourself and hard on the problem. So that's kind of like the sum up.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Okay, so I just have so many questions. Okay,
No,
so what
I mean, we can, you know, this seems like it's going to be a 2-parter or 3-parter. So let's go.
Okay, so let's talk about fear since now we're out of our funk. So why do you think fear either, why does it have to stop us or even propel us? Like, why does fear really have anything to do with our transformation, or why does it have to?
I mean, it's scientific and physical and, you know, everyone has heard of fight or flight. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, we have a natural reaction to if some people see a dog, their natural reaction is to run. If they see an angry dog, like there are some people that's like, let me find the nearest stick. And if these animals are trying to attack me, or, you know what I mean? So not that people should hurt a dog, but you get my point. Because I used to be afraid of dogs and I used to run my ass off. So,
Like, for example, you know, like in people's health and fitness journey, when you can feel like you're afraid of even changing, of transforming, or maybe you're afraid to start, you're afraid to fail. I mean, so many people don't.
But that's what I'm, yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. That's why I had to stop and think because, you know, it is the fight or flight. And I think it definitely relates to, in a very similar way, when people go after a weight loss journey, it's the same thing as fight or flight because it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to lose that weight. You know, I had my babysitter work out with me a couple of days ago for the first time. And after 3 minutes, she was like trying to walk away. And I was like, no, you're going to finish the 20 minutes. I don't care if you march in place. Because her first thing is like the minute they experience a brick wall or a barrier or a hurdle is to say, all right, I'm done for the day. And I'm like, Rome wasn't built in a day. First of all, you're not going to get a six pack. You're not going to lose the 20 pounds that you want to lose. And you're not going to be a master at anything in one day. It's just not. I'm still not a master at shit. Shaun T's crazy, right? So I just said to her, no, here's the recovery move. Do that until you can join in on the next exercise. And she finished. And here was the thing that was amazing. The next day, she walked in with her flip-flops on and the other babysitter was working out. And I was like, oh, you coming in flip-flops so I didn't make you work out? She was like, no, I got my tennis shoes on. And she jumped in. And not only did she do the workout, she didn't complain once. She did way more on the second day. The workout was actually a harder workout. And, you know, she was actually helping the other babysitter. And so it's okay to have that fight or flight, but you have to know that when it comes to your body, it's controlled by your mind. And there's no reason to run away from change that can be good because change is good. And we are, like, you know, people have heard me say false evidence appearing real, and it's true. You automatically think because you experience one point of difficulty, you have to stop. You know what I mean? You have to be like, oh, this is going to be too hard. I'm not going to be able to do it. But that's why I go back to my book. One of my favorite superpowers is being creative. Most people think that because someone told me I had to be like A, B, C, D. Someone, you know, like I love the alphabet song, but I really wish somebody would change it to be like Z, A, X, Q, R, T, Y. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when a kid can't remember the next letter, they get really frustrated and becomes a barrier. But why do I have to remember it the way you remember it? You know, that's one of my issues with learning in general. Learning, you know, kids have to go in the classroom and sit down. I love schools where they say, wait, let's see how this child learns, because not everybody's an audio learner. Not everybody's a visual learner. Some people learn by doing. And so I believe it's up to the teacher to be able to motivate people to work their way through. And that's why I love motivating people through fitness and exercise, because there's not only one way. That's why I have Size and Hip Hop Abs and Rock and Body and Insanity and Asylum and T25 and Shaun Week and Max 30, because every single one of them take a different approach to exercise, so that if you don't like this way, here's another way. And that's why, like, it makes me really happy when people tell me, like, I'm their favorite trainer or it's their soulmate workout, but I'm definitely going to push you to try a Autumn or a Shalene or a Tony or a Joel. I'm still going to say, go try that way too. Because, you know, you, even if you might not like the entire program of mine or the entire program of them, there are going to be parts that are going to help you understand that when you reach a barrier, there's another tool and another way to do something to get you over the hump. And so when you become scared and fearful of doing something, don't just sing the alphabet song, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Find a different way. People think that, oh, because they skipped a step, then, you know, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do that. You know what? I think it's in the show. What show is that? Oh, what game show is it? I forget the game show now, but it's Family Feud. Me and Sandra watch it every night while I'm trying to get him to finish this bottle, because the screen is really colorful. And instead of me like playing him silent music, you know, I'm like, let's put some color on the screen. But anyway, in the actual show, Family Feud, at the final round, you know, the first person answers the question, and then the second person answers the question. If they don't get it right, the buzzer goes, and if they can't get it, they can say skip and go to the next one. And then they come back later because they found it in another way. And I feel like instead of just giving up in your fitness journey or giving up in your food because you had a IHOP burger one day, you know what I'm saying? So what? You had a burger. So what? You had a milkshake. Like, I took Scott to Dairy Queen yesterday. Homeboy got 2 blizzards, and they turned them things upside down, and you ain't see him get stressed once. Why didn't you see him get stressed once? Because he knows he's going to work out today. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of taking control. Don't let one thing hinder your results. Be creative, go around it, know that there's going to be struggle, know there's going to be change, and it helps eliminate fear.
So I want to talk about your fears.
Yes.
So, okay, for one, you said your babysitter was doing a 20-minute workout. I'm like, is she doing Transform 20?
Yes, she is.
Okay, so I want to hear
Nosy.
your fears. I want to hear your fears around Transform 20, because obviously you are Shaun T. You have all of this success around other workout programs. So when you're creating something new, do you have a fear? Like, what if people don't like it? What if, you know, you release it and you get a whole bunch of negative feedback or something? Not like I'm saying dwell on negativity, but does that fear exist in you?
Oh, yes. I mean, every time let's go back to when I was about to announce Transform 20. When Carl was about to call me on stage, before, that was the most, like, in the last 7 years, I had never been nervous to walk out on a Beachbody stage, like, ever, except for dancing, because, you know, I hadn't danced in a long time. That one time I danced at Summit, I think it was the time where I danced with Tanya, we did this whole number. But as far as releasing a workout plan, like, I was like, yo, you know, it was just like, releasing a workout program didn't make me nervous, or talking about it, it was exciting. This made me extremely nervous. Like, I was so nervous to be on stage, which is so fucking annoying because I hate it. I hate when I'm nervous and I'm trying to talk because it pisses me off. Because I'm like, why are you nervous? But I mean, I'm excited, I'm nervous, you know, because you have this, in a way, you have this reputation to uphold, right? People are like, oh my God, like when Shaun T comes out with a workout, whatever. But I also say to myself, I also get nervous at the fact that I don't want them to think it's this. I don't want them to think it's like this workout. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, there are certain moves that I'm trying to eliminate because I'm like, I don't want people to think this is insanity. And some people were like, well, people know you as insanity, so it's okay to put a couple of those moves in there. But I'm like, well, I don't want to. Then there's the coordination aspect. You know, I know what step aerobics was, and I'm trying to reinvent the step. And so I want the moves to be simple and easy so people don't feel like they're trying to do, they don't need to be too coordinated. So I don't want people to get home and they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. So I'm trying to eliminate like a knee corner, triple knee over the top, you know, around the world. You know what I mean? These are step turns. I'm completely eliminating all of that stuff, and I'm using what I know people know in fitness and exercise, and I'm trying to keep it very simple. But then the fear is it too simple? Is it too easy? I look at people like you who never fucking stop when they working out. You know, I know you don't like when I say it.
That is not true.
I know you do. But, you know, I look at people who, and it's not even about fitness level. I just look at people who are like, want to be beat the hell down when they work out. But also look at people like my babysitters who are like, I don't work out because I don't have the time. I'm not unmotivated. One of my babysitters was like, she came in one morning, was like, I went to the gym before I came to work today, and I'm going to go to the gym after to do my cardio. Me and Scott looked at each other like, what did you just say? Like, you going to the gym twice? And that's why when she came here and did this 20 minutes, she's like, oh, that's what you guys are talking about, where I don't need to go to the gym. I'm saying you can go to the gym. Like, if that's your thing, just make every second count. But so I have all of those fears that I'm trying to like wrap this into 20 minutes. Now I test these things out on Scott and Chip and Sam and myself originally, but all of them are very coordinated. They know how to work out. They know how to move, you know, but even they still have bad form where I have to go and correct them, you know? So then I bring in the babysitters and I see what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, now I need to change that, or I need to like figure out a way to like talk to them to make it. So anyway, to make a long answer shorter, because it's long already. I mean, there's always, if I didn't have nervous fears about wanting this to be great, then I actually shouldn't be doing it. And it's really the most exciting thing that's happened in my fitness career in a very, 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 very long time. I mean, I haven't been this excited about releasing a new program since Insanity, to be very honest. Now, I've been very excited about every single one of my programs. Don't get it twisted. I love them all. They're all super special and high energy and great to me. But this is really special. I mean, it's a new decade in my life. I'm taking something that a lot of people know that was like really looked at as people that only wore leg warmers, or like, you know, gay guys taught this class. I'm really happy that the guy, you know, the gifted one on Instagram, you know, he has like an extreme hip hop step class, because I think it also reinvented that like guys can do it too. Mm-hmm. And it was really like a stepping stone to be like, okay, this step is not something to fear or look at as like a feminine type of thing. Like, we can actually use this to create our bodies in a completely different way.
But I think what you just said was so powerful too, because you said if you didn't have fear around it, then you shouldn't be doing it. Where I think people think if you have fear, you shouldn't do it. And you just said like the complete opposite.
Yeah, like if you're fearful of something, you should absolutely do it. Like, I'm gonna step outside of fitness for a second. Like, I had this huge fear of skydiving. Like, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm not necessarily afraid of flying, you know, really, because I just do it all the time. I used to be, you know what I mean? But jumping out of a fucking airplane and relying on this thing. And the only reason why I'm afraid is because I was watching, I think what used to be called True TV one day, you know, most whatever, you know how they have this most shocking shows, and this girl like did a thing and her parachute only open halfway, and she didn't die or anything, but you know, she got jacked up. And so I'm just like, fuck, like I don't want to do this. But this and hot air ballooning, and I don't know why, because I don't have afraid of heights. Like, I love roller coasters. I love the highest thing. It's just that I'm not afraid of free falling. Like, I think it's gonna be really amazing. I think I have to. Maybe it's a trust thing.
Sounds like it.
Maybe it's a trust thing, but I don't really have I don't have trust issues necessarily. But there's something deep in there. I don't know. But one day, I just know that I'm going to jump out this stupid ass airplane because I know I'm afraid of it. I'm just trying to like figure out when, and I'm like, well, can I do it over water so that I can like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like so scared to do it. It's annoying. I'm probably going to like, but anyway, whatever.
Well, my only advice is when you jump, close your mouth.
Did you jump before?
Yes.
Oh, I think I knew that.
Well,
that's because you were probably like this.
Yeah, I was like,
everywhere you go.
Did not work out well.
Were you afraid?
No, I wasn't. I was excited, but all of the wind like rushed my lungs, so I was choking while I was falling, and I don't remember any of it because I was just like, well, hopefully somebody can revive me at the bottom. But then finally my shoe opened, so yeah. Just close your mouth. That's my only
Maybe you
advice.
can go with me because I'll be
Yeah,
so scared.
and I'll have to like tape my mouth shut.
You'll literally probably see me like crying.
Good, I love that.
Oh my God, that's so mean.
This
Okay.
is like my perfect day. Okay, so I have one more topic that
Okay.
I'm really excited about because
Okay.
you say this a lot, and I want to talk about when you say be a good human.
Mm.
So why is this so hard for people to do? Like, number one, why is it even necessary to say that? And why is it so hard for people to do? How do they sleep at night? Do they even know that they're not a good human? Can you make people become a good human? Can you teach people how to care? I think you get my drift.
I love this question so much. But the first thing that I want to say is this is not me being a bully. This is not me saying I'm perfect, because trust and believe I am so far from perfect. And that's why in my book, I talk about perfection is temporary, change is constant, because I have really great moments where I can get 100 or A+ on the test. But the minute I get an A+ on that test, or the minute I realize that, like, wow, I had a perfect moment as being a dad, the very next second, one of those kids start crying and I gotta figure it the fuck out. You know what I mean? If you didn't know Shaun T, his favorite curse word is F, the F word. So I just want to give that little preface. By the way, Maria Badiato sent me this. She's in our safe space. She
Yeah, I
sent
know
me
her
this
too.
cup. It's so sweet. Anyway, I do use, oh, this is so freaking random, but do you know, because I think you're a good human, and so I want to say this. First of all, I'm too excited. Hold on, I'm gonna go back. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, I'm excited. All right, so listen. Being a good human, I'm not perfect. So when I talk about being a good human, I'm not talking about from me being perfect. It's talking about me striving to be a good human. But because Jessica, like, you know what's so crazy? Like, I love you so much. I think you're just like such a good human. And for the longest time before we became friends, I would say we were acquaintances, obviously, for a long time, but then we really became friends. And do you remember that picture you gave me of you, me, Scott, and Brian? It was actually me, Danielle, Darren, and Scott. And you put your face on Danielle's body and whatever,
Yeah.
and Brian's face on Darren's body. Do you
I
remember
think
that?
it was Tanya's body. No, I totally remember.
It was Danielle, because I remember that photo. I'm pretty sure it was Danielle. But anyway, I would have to peel your face back to find out. But regardless, do you know, like, so what I do with a lot of gifts that I get from my Fit Fam, if they're letters, is I put them in my floss drawer in my bathroom. So when I go to bed at night, if I'm feeling like low, or if I need a little motivation, I pick up one of the letters that one of my Fit Fams sent me, and I'll read it, because while I'm flossing with my floss stick. But do you know that ever since you gave me that photo, like every night, probably you gave me that photo years ago, every night that I open my drawer, you and Brian, and that picture is the first picture I see every night before I go to bed. Because it's like, I didn't know where to put the photo. And I was like, it's gonna look silly, like in the transformation center. So I was like, I'm gonna put it where I put all my motivating letters. And so every night, like, you're there with me. It's like so amazing. But and I say that I tell that story because of, like, I talk about being the average of the 5 closest people to you. And I believe that you should, find really good people. And that takes me into being a good human somehow. When I hired Sam and Chip as a part of this job, one of the things that I told Scott, he was like, well, what are you looking for, when we were trying to decide who to hire? And I was like, I just want to hire a good human, because I think skill set can be taught. And I feel like I can work with anybody that's a really good human. And a good human has an open mind to try and change to try and enhance, to be motivated and to motivate, to accept, to be accepted, to be challenged, to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? I feel like a good human has all of those qualities. And so I like to surround myself with good humans. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you're gay, you're straight. I don't care if you're tall. I don't care if you have 100 pounds to lose. I don't care if you have 50 pounds to gain. For me, it's about, if you're good, like, we can do a lot of things. And I think I know that's one of the main reasons why I don't talk about politics on my social media channels, because, and as annoying as I get with politics out there, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that, and I'm gonna say this now, I'm gonna be political for like 30 seconds. I don't believe that every Democrat is amazing, and I don't believe that every Republican is amazing. I don't believe that every far right, racist, you know, whatever you want to call them, people, if you will, I don't believe all of them think that way. I think a lot of times it was because they grew up in that mindset. Just like I feel like, you know, people who are like hippie, like, that live in compounds and they think everybody is great and there's a such thing as angel dust and a third eye. Like, I don't think, even though they accept everyone, I don't think that they're great, right? I don't think everyone is the best. But what I do think of the best is, no matter where you are on the spectrum of whatever kind of person you are, I believe that there is a magnetic force that can bring us together. And if the people over here, you know, open their minds up to the way these people think, but more importantly, why do they think that way, and vice versa, you know, I think we would have a really great world. And I'm not trying to change the world, and I don't believe that everything should be perfect, but that's one of the, besides the color issue, that's why I really love Martin Luther King, because he wasn't like, let's hate the white people and like, let's make the black people the most powerful. He was like, why can't we all just get along? Like, why is it so hard for us to say, let's just be really good to each other? I really believe we can be really, really, really good to each other. Now, there are people that are like, well, that's because I was watching this documentary on Netflix that I found to be unfreaking believable. Oh, what is the name of this documentary? I have to put it in the notes on the podcast. But it was a woman, she was a Muslim woman, and she actually went into like far right America, and she got, you know, it was mostly men. She got a chance to interview them and got them to let her go with them on their rallies and their hate rallies and whatever. And it was amazing for them to see her as a friend, even though they hate Muslims, right? Now I'm looking for the documentary for a person on the other side to go to the other side to see why they think that way, so that it could be one cohesive unit. And I say all that to say that I feel like a good human is someone that is like, hey, you want to do better in your life? You're not perfect right now. Great. I'm not either. But if I can teach you the things that make me happy, and you can teach me about the things that make you happy, and if we somehow disagree on those, if we can somehow just kind of get to the bottom of it, what I can promise you is we have the same foundation, which is a heartbeat. We like to eat, we like to shit, and we want to survive. You know what I mean? And if we kind of work together, it'd be great. Just like my friend, I have a friend on Instagram. He's my friend in real life too, but Tank Machine on Instagram. Most people look at his Instagram, a lot of people would be like, oh my God. And we talked about this. He actually posted about it. I'm gay, he's straight. I love Obama, he loves Donald Trump. He loves guns. I'm like, don't put a gun near me because it freaks me the fuck out. He loves responding to people and like cussing them out on Instagram. And I'm just like, I don't have time for you, right? But the amazing thing is when we come together, like, and I learn why he thinks that way, it opens up a tear duct in him. And he's like, oh my God, like I learned about this. And when I think a certain way, it opens up a tear duct in me and be like, oh, I never thought that could be why you think that way. Or this is why I think that way. And he actually gave up a job once because he had a job where I think the line was for him to say the word fag in the actual show. And he left the job because he thought of me. He was like, wait a minute, I wouldn't call my friend Shaun that. Like, no, I can't do this. Like, even though it's on screen and it's part of whatever, he was like, I just can't do that. And by, and even with guns, like, even though my friend Darren Tony was a DEA agent, and he showed me a gun one time, he pulled it out in the house, and Scott was like freaked out. And I was kind of like intrigued, but I was like, okay, you know, I look at his gun post and I'm like, oh, I see why you actually like guns. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And whatever. So there's so many different ways and thought processes behind people that I just go back to this magnetic force. And I wish that we would really try to find the magnetic thing so that we can respect each other. And so here are my 10 ways to be a good human. Say hello to somebody you don't know every day, especially a cashier or someone in the service industry, like the hostess, when he or she is walking you to your table. This is simply being like, so how's your day going? Because that's going to make their day. So the first one is like, say hello to someone. This is in no particular order. Number 2 is look at yourself in the mirror and look at something you love about you that's going to give you motivation and energy to be positive and confident in the beginning of the day. Because when you're positive and confident in the beginning of the day, you are less likely to push anger and hate on somebody else because you actually had a moment in the day where you like who you are. 3, embrace change. Do something different every single day. This is elementary, but if you're driving to work and you take the same route every day, instead of getting off at the very last exit that takes you closer to your job, get off at the exit before and drive some surface streets, because you might see a donut shop or a coffee shop or a gym or a sign or something that could change the dynamic of your life, because you might go past that coffee shop. One day you might go into that coffee shop or that donut shop and you might meet the love of your life. You know what I mean? Or you might meet a really good friend. You know what I mean? And that person could change by you just doing something different and changing the game. Number 4 is drink something that, no, I always like to say digest good. One of my things is don't drink your calories, but I'm like, drink something new. Not every day, but at least once a week. And why you say drink? Why do you say drink? Is because one day Chip gave me pea milk, and I was like, what in the actual fuck did you want me to drink? And what I realized is that for so long, I was like, I'm not having any kind of dairy. I'm not getting coconut milk. I'm allergic to almond milk. I'm not doing anything. And it wasn't about the milk, but it was about bringing a different recipe into my life. Not only did I take this, but I realized like, okay, with my daily sunshine, I could actually do this. And I feel like you can change. Most people look at food and they look at recipes and they're like, oh, I want to change. I'm looking for a new diet. But when you change the way you make your Shakeology or your whatever drink you have, or if you just, like what Scott does is like, he actually pours club soda into juice. So he creates his own soda at night. So he's not like, you know what I mean? But anyway, I say drink something new every single day because it transfers into you having a different recipe in your life, and thinking of a different recipe every day. Because if you drink something new and hopefully it's healthy, it will translate into you having an idea about your food, or just reminding you about your nutrition intake. And I feel like you do it much better by drinking something new often than trying to make a new recipe if you don't know how to fucking cook. So let's drink something new. Text a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time. Once a week, twice a week, 3 times a month. And the reason why is because we say the L word a lot. And we say I love you to people all the time. And there are a lot of people who are like, do you really love me? Like, do you really love me? And I believe that you can love people from afar. I don't believe that you have to talk to people every day. But here's what I know. When I get a text message from someone that I haven't heard from a very long time that I really love, they're just not at the top of my mind because my life took me along this tree branch instead of up this one. It just makes me feel really good. And it reminds me of things that happened in my past that were really good. It could be a dance choreography. It could be something that helps me be creative. It could just be that good feeling that says, oh my gosh, that's when I got married, or, you know what I mean? So by you texting someone and you would make them feel good. And in turn, you might have just, it might be just a text exchange that you guys have for like, you ever heard somebody in the past and y'all text each other for 3 days and then you go back to your lives. But you know what? It makes them feel really good. And it's like paying it forward. So that's, what was that, number 6 or number 5?
I think that was 5.
That was number 5. Yeah. I'm like, was that 6 or 5? Okay. Now we're going to get into a little fitness because I you know, about the body. Number 6, this is the most amazing thing. And I've said this a lot of time. Find your reserve. Work out so damn hard that you have to find your reserve. Where is that moment in your workout that you have to push so hard? And that's why I created Max 30. And I don't think a lot of people really understand Max 30 still when I say your max out time, because a lot of people would be like, well, when I max out, do I stop? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. You know, the work doesn't begin until you get tired. And that's why I'm like, if you can find your max out every single day, then you're always tapping into your reserve every single day. And when you tap into your reserve with your body, it's going to tap into your reserve with your relationship. If you and your spouse are having an argument, if you're trying to call it quits, it might give you that one more to say, you know what, let's have one more date night. Let's see if we can make this work. And it might open the floodgates to you tapping into a reserve so you don't throw in a towel. And in exercise, you don't throw in a towel. In your body and in your relationship, you don't throw in a towel that can completely change the course of your life in a negative way. However, you can also tap into your reserve, and instead of having a really horrible divorce, you can say, you know what, now that we really understand each other and we know that we're not in love anymore, we could really be great friends, and we can have a divorce, and we can end this relationship in a way where, you know, it's like you can have the house, I can have the car, we can have split custody of the kids, and it's a really great process, and everybody wins. And so that's why tapping into your reserve is extremely important. Help someone. At work, a lot of times we are rushing to leave there's always that one other person that is, you know, they're like on the grind. And I do this with Chip a lot of times. I can't really help him a lot because he does stuff that I don't know how to do, but I'm always like, what I can do is, but before I leave the transformation center, I'm like, do you have anything else? Is there anything else? Because I know if I'm offering my time, even if I'm doing a little extra, I know if there's something that I can do that might only take 3 minutes instead of 45, that I can get that off his list. So whether it's you're a Beachbody coach and you need to call one of your downline people, because a lot of people tell me, in the Beachbody world, and the reason why they quit being a coach is because their coach didn't help them. They signed them up that they didn't help, but like, help them. You know what I mean? It can help your business. And I'm not trying to like advertise Beachbody coaching, but I hear it a lot. I hear a lot of times where people are like, I don't want to be a part of it anymore because my upline coach just signed me up and they don't care about me. But you can show that you care by just one coach a day, literally one coach a day. You can go on your Rolodex and maybe haven't talked to them in a month. Hey, I'm going through day by day. I'm reaching out to one person toward the end of the day to see how can I help you. I don't have an hour, but work tip. And you know, that keeps you connected. And then that's going to help your community. Just like if you're at your job, it's going to help the community. That one person that stayed late after work is like, oh, you know what? Shaun is really smart in this area. He helped me. And then guess what? The company makes more money. You know what I mean? And people feel good, and it helps the morale. So I just think it's really important to help people every single day. Give yourself, like I call it positively selfish. Be positively selfish every single day. Even if you have to do what I used to do, which is walk down the streets in New York, stop at Mr. Softy, take all the ice cream off the top, and just eat the ice cream that's left in the cone. Because you know what? That made me feel really good, but I'm also really positive by halving up my dessert. Or if it's calling, you know, sometimes I do this. I'm like, Scott, like, I can't come home. Like, I need to go get a massage, or I need to like go to the spa and chill. He's like, fine, I'll ask someone to stay a half an hour later. What time are you going to be home? And while people would be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, if he did it to me, people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's going to leave you home. Like, it's the crazy time of the day. But it's like, no, like, it's fine. Like, I can feel a little bit crazy if I know that my spouse or somebody is going to come home and feel really great. So don't be afraid to be positively selfish. Was that 8 or 7?
I think that's 8.
Okay, cool. I have like 20, but I'm just trying to keep.
I know, I'm so impressed that you're just like making this list mentally.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I had a shirt back in the day that said "Make a Stronger Impact." It was one of my first shirts that I had for Shaun T Fitness, and I don't know how well the shirt did sell, but it was at a time where I was like, how am I going to make a stronger impact in my day? And this has nothing to do with anybody else. It has nothing to do with positively selfish. It has nothing to do with helping people. It's really thinking about, how am I going to make a stronger impact on my life? What am I going to do? My friend Robbie posted on Twitter yesterday. She's like, I'm 200. She said, did she say I don't know. She was like a certain amount of pages into her book. And she was like, I have 200 to go. And I just thought that was really powerful, her putting it out there, that she was like, I'm going to finish this book. It's really hard, but I'm going to do it. Just by her making that tweet was making a stronger impact to the world. Number one, because people know now that she has a book. And number two, by her telling people that she had to do something, it motivated her to be like, I'm going to finish this because people are looking. For me, this is so freaky. Some people can look at this as materialistic, but for me, like, I love shoes. And at Summit, when I got on stage and I wore my off-white, the shoes were orange, but it's an off-white brand that said foam. Do you know that I carry the bag to the edge of the stage and I put my shoes on at the bottom of the steps?
Yeah, you did that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because I was like, what is going to motivate me to make a stronger impact when I go on the stage? And I'm like, I love shoes. I didn't have anyone up there with me on that stage. And the reason
you didn't want them to step on the shoes.
Yeah, somebody stepped on the motherfucking shoes. Nah, but for me, it was like, I don't have anybody up here on the stage because I literally want to give. It wasn't about who was on the stage. It was really about me, like, literally trying to give all the energy I had to those 15, 20, however many thousands of coaches out there. I'm just like, I'm trying to give you all of my energy, but what I was getting my energy was from those shoes, man. I was like, these shoes are lit. And it gave me a boost of confidence. And that was the thing that helped me make a stronger impact. Like, I was up there like, oh my God, like, I feel so good. Like, I feel like I'm floating and I feel amazing. And, usually I use people like you or Scott or Danielle or whoever's up there on stage with me. I'm always like, these people give me energy. And this time I was just like, who's with me on the stage? These 20,000 people or whatever. So it was really great. And last but not least, something that you can do every single day to make you a good human is conquer your mind. Conquer your mind. We all go through, and I'll say this in closing for this episode, because do you have more questions or is this it?
I did have one more section.
Okay, we'll do a second episode because this was really fun. But I will say in closing, and for today's truth bomb would be conquer your mind. We talked about this earlier, which is, do you get motivation from struggle or do you get motivation from strength? And, like I said, I definitely get motivation from struggle, and I'm learning to get motivation from my strengths or whatever. But at the end of the day, everything we talked about today is being able to conquer your mind. Of all the 10 things that I talked about of you wanting to make yourself a better human, guess what? You're not going to stay after work and help that person if you have an attitude. But you have to conquer your mind. You have to get out of your own head to say, you know what? Let me get out of my own head. Let me be positive. And the way to be positive, I have to conquer my mind, and understanding that if I do stay after work, not only am I going to conquer my mind, not only have I conquered my mind and I got off of my high horse, but I was able to transform my life and transform someone else's life. And so if you conquer your mind in your relationships, or if you conquer your mind in your workout, because it's not about whether you have to get on your knees in child's pose while Shaun T is still screaming at you. It's, what are you saying in that moment? Are you going to walk away or try to walk away like my babysitter did that day? Or are you going to say, you know what? I don't care if I have to march in place or lay here and cry. I'm going to be here to the end of this workout so that tomorrow when I start again, I know that at least I can get to the finish line. And that's why she came in that next day. And not only, and I didn't mention this before, not only did she do the workout and do much more to work out, But with the babysitter who was their first time and they were dying, she was helping her. She was like, come on, girl, you could do that. Just go ahead and march. Like, she became the coach. You know what I mean? So if you conquer your mind, just every single day doing something to conquer your mind, not only can you coach yourself, you could be positive internally. And when you do have struggle and when you do have those pains, or when you do have someone call you a derogatory name in the motherfucking gym as a high school student, you can say, you know what? I'm going to go to the green zone instead of going to the red zone and just cussing you the fuck out. Like, I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to give you the negative energy. I'm going to stay in the green zone. And instead, you know, if this woman would have called me that name before, if it were in today's time, while I would feel the red, while I would literally feel the anger, I would conquer my mind, I would go into the green zone, and I would walk up to her and I would sit next to her and be like, you know, why did you just say that? Because, you know, that really hurt my feelings. And I don't think that you want to hurt my feelings. And if you do, then we need to talk about why you feel like you have to be better than me. And having that time, by conquering your mind, by being able to open up yourself to a longer conversation that's not just short and angry, you open yourself up to a longer conversation, you prolong your life because you lessen the stress in your life. And that's why it's important to conquer your mind so you can transform your life.
Perfect.
Perfection is temporary, change is constant. I'm scared of the next question, but we're going to get one next time. So, Jessica, obviously, you know, I would love to interview you. However, I know this was about you interviewing me, so I'm going to do that. And I would add some more subjects because I feel like this is a really good podcast and we can do another one. So if you have one more subject, at least come up with two more.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll record again. But unfortunately, I have to go. I have to go play tennis. And today I'm going to try and win from being on top instead of relying on trying to fight from the bottom.
Okay, good. Well, tell me how it goes.
I will. And I love you and thank you.
You're welcome. Love you. Bye.
Bye. She's awesome.